especially on the bunting. I saw plenty of times where guys were trying to put down sacrifice bunts and just couldn't do it. There was only one good bunt that I saw the entire time I was there, and the only reason why I stayed in is because the way the ground was set up at the end of the grass before the dirt, it tilted in towards the infield, and that's the only reason why I stayed in. That was the only one. I'm trying to count my head as he was talking. I think it was one of 8 bunts that were actually put into play. So that's a great point as far as, just the fundamentals. That's probably the best way to put it, is that a lot of these guys don't have it defensively. Bunting, these guys were built, and you'll see them as they move up. Most of these guys, except for maybe Eric Young Jr., were built to hit mammoth home runs. These guys, I'm telling you, unbelievable how gigantic all these guys were.
Yeah, and it's like we were just saying earlier, it's too bad. You would think a place like that was where they would work on that stuff, but maybe they figure that they will just pick them up in their rotations as they move up through the ranks. Todd from Baseball Todd's Dugout, did you have a question for Paul?
No, actually, I'm enjoying just listening to him describe the Arizona Fall League because I don't know much about the winter time as far as baseball goes. You're giving me a lot of good information as well as our listeners, and I just want to thank you for being here.
I appreciate that. Like I said, guys, the biggest thing, we can sit here and talk about and players and this and that. The best part about sitting at the Arizona Fall League for myself was actually learning what scouts are looking for, getting the inside scoop of, guys that have fallen off, pitchers that were falling off, pitchers that, were what they called it the pole, which is when these guys break their hands down, and the left hand for righty moves forward, where they can put from point to point, from the elbow to the other elbow in a straight line. That's their balance points. It was just a phenomenal experience for me to sit there and listen to scouts break down players, look at certain players that, you would think that were, this guy is going to be a player, but you come to find out that, he's got a hitch in his swing or his bat is too slow on an inside pitch. These guys break it down the best, and like I said, to sit down and just discuss baseball while they're doing their work and they're giving me inside, information on certain players that I'm looking for, not only from a fantasy standpoint, fellas, don't get me wrong, I wasn't there just to do fantasy, but, I'm there to break it down also for Gotham Baseball, to take a look at some of these players. And I'll give you a perfect, for instance, okay, Austin Jackson of the New York Yankees. This is the #1 prospect for the New York Yankees, and that's leaving out Phil Hughes. We know what Phil Hughes can do. Let's talk Austin Jackson. One thing that I noticed about Austin Jackson, and you'll see this, I also took a lot of video, guys. I had a film crew down there. The video will be coming up hopefully in a week here. But I watched Austin Jackson in the game, and 3 strikeouts in a row. 3 strikeouts in a row were on breaking balls on the outside corner. And he couldn't touch none of them. Anything outside, couldn't touch. When I sat down and talked to him, he was very open to the fact that not only did I point this out to him, and he realized that that's the reason why the Yankees sent him down, but that he's still struggling with the fact that he can't hit that he's got to trust his hands. When you get those inside scoops, when you talk to the guys and get the feeling from the players, you have a better understanding of what these guys are trying to do. We tend to forget that these guys are still human, even though when we watch them on TV, they look like superstars. These are kids that are still trying to learn the game. And when you have an opportunity, like I said, I have on film Matt Wieters, Drew Sutton from the Houston Astros. These guys were all open enough to talk about their deficiencies, what they thought they were strong. Even Justin Smoke, who signed August 16th or August 18th of this year for the Texas Rangers. This is a guy that looks exactly like Mark Teixeira. I'm talking from the swing, defensively, the size, unbelievable. And, this is a guy that's going to be a part of this Texas Rangers team in about 2 years. He's got that type of stroke. He's tearing up the AFL right now, even after being moving from the taxi squad a couple times. This is a guy in his first year that's eaten up triple-double pitchers. And you know what? That's what really makes this league, is the opportunity to sit there, talk with scouts, talk with these guys, and bring back the information that we're trying to bring back for everybody.
Well, let's dive in here for a few minutes spent with Paul Greco. Now, a couple of things. You mentioned some players. Now, Matt Wieters, he's a name that's been thrown out there that most anybody, even novice fans of baseball who follow anything with the minor leagues, has heard about this guy. This is a guy who is probably going to be, possibly on the opening day roster with the Orioles. You never know, at least AAA. But I will say this: he's a guy that we've actually been following for a while. He wasn't on the radar scope to start off the season. He really he made an impression that with Frederick, with the Frederick Keys, and then really was playing well. Was leading the league, I believe, in home runs for the first month and a half. And then they moved him up, and then everybody started to hear about this guy. And like you said, you did have like you said, you had a chance to see him and a chance to talk with him. Is the hype there? I mean, we'll obviously get to hear some of it maybe in a week or two, but is the hype warranted from what you could see?
Absolutely. Let me tell you what, this is a guy that played a high A ball in Double-A last year. He's tall, he's strong, he's got power, batting average. I mean, he batted .355 last year with 27 home runs. The thing that's probably going to hurt Matt Wieters a little bit is his defense. 2 times in a game, he bounced the ball to second base. Not a very strong arm. The thing that I did like about him, though, is he has a big presence behind the plate. He's a good receiver of the ball, so that's going to help. But, again, guys were taking advantage of the arm. So, you know what, Matt Wieters maybe in the minor leagues as a catcher, but, I don't know if this is really the best spot for him. This is a guy that's 6'4". I can actually see him moving to first base and being a decent first baseman. He's got nice, soft hands. But, again, that arm, to me, when I looked at him and I talked to different scouts, they don't like his arm. They don't think it's that strong to throw out the fast runners at the major league level, and that's the thing that may hurt him. And you're right. He has a chance to make this team out of spring training. It's really going to depend on the winter meetings that are coming up and whether or not the Baltimore Orioles move Ramon Hernandez. If they move him, that opens up the door for Matt Wieters. And I'll tell you what, they'd be smart to get this guy up there to see some major league action. He's got a great bat, fellas. Again, though, it's going to be the defense that's going to hurt his game, and hopefully the mental block of throwing a ball to second base isn't something that's going to hurt him at the major league level.
But what if you look? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean butt in, but you kind of sound like you're describing like a Mike Piazza type.
You know what? You might be right there. Mike Piazza, Justin Saltamaki. I mean, he's in that type of mold. Doesn't have a great arm, has a great eye. I mean, this guy has a great eye at the plate. He's going to be a number 3, 4, or 5 hitter for Baltimore when he actually gets called up. And he has power to both fields. I saw him hit a double on Friday night to right field. He was batting righty to right field. I mean, he was batting left-handed, hit it to left field, and just flipped his wrist and hit it over the left fielder's head. I mean, it was unbelievable how much power this guy has. But again, defensively, you know what, that might be a good comparison to maybe Mike Piazza, who didn't have the arm. But you know what, when you have the option to put a guy at the DH or first base, I think Matt Wieters probably fits that mold a little bit better. And I think once you guys start to see his game behind the plate, you're going to understand the reasons why. Because, again, he just doesn't have that strong of an arm.
Now, you mentioned, I mean, the Orioles, they really have nothing to lose. I would think,
right,
with them being in the American League East, and with what's going on with, obviously with Tampa doing what they did this year, and Boston, and the Yankees are going to reload. I mean, they probably they have nothing to lose. The Orioles have nothing to lose. They need to generate something. So I think you may see a similar call up to what the Reds did this year, and you may see him called up. I would say probably somewhere in May if he doesn't make the team out of spring training. Because what do they got to lose?
Yeah, you know what? That's an absolute great point there, Tim. And it's really going to depend on, like you said, if he doesn't get called up, I mean, maybe we have a Longoria situation, maybe a Ryan Braun situation from a year ago, where that seems to be a great fit for some of these young hitters. Go down to the minors, get you working for the first month, and then if you're hitting well, we call you up in May and you ride out the rest of the season. It seems like a plan that's been working for 2 Major League Baseball clubs over the last years who are having Rookie of the Years. So, maybe that's what Baltimore does. Maybe they look at the game plan. But I can tell you this, the front office of the Baltimore Orioles, and I'll be honest here, absolutely is atrocious. Probably one of the worst in baseball. If you're a Baltimore Orioles fan, I apologize, but, I'm going to just tell it like it is. And this is really an organization that needs to start from scratch. They need to take a look at maybe what Tampa Bay did, not maybe as long as it took Tampa Bay, but to take a look and not bring in these high-priced free agents. They're already talking about wanting to go at the mark this year. Give some of these young guys a chance. Take a step back. Reorganize your minor league system, because when you start signing some of these Type A guys, similar